Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we have a beer that I think will be very interesting. This of course is another one of the recent releases from Systembolaget through their small partier ranges that they do. This one is part German but mainly English. There's 4 breweries involved here and I think it'll be very interesting because it's a blend of 4 different IPAs, or they've sort of taken parts of the recipes of 4 different IPAs and sort of put them all into one brew and done it together. And this beer was brewed for the Indieman Beer Con at 2018, the Manchester Independent Brewers Convention, I think, if you want to give it its full name. So for this one we are going to have a look at the Fellowship IPA. This one is brewed at Stone Brewing's facility in Berlin. So Stone Brewing Berlin are the home brewery in this case, and this is a collaboration beer that they've done with North Brewing Company, who are from Leeds in Yorkshire, Magic Rock Brewing, who are from Huddersfield in Yorkshire, and then Buxton, who are from the little town of Buxton in Derbyshire in England as well. So I think this one should be very interesting. It comes in at 7% ABV, and yeah, I'm just very curious to see how this comes out. And I love the fact that Stone Brewing do these cans that are half litres. I always complain about beer canning these days because they're doing it 440 millilitres rather than the proper 500 milliliter cans that they should. You know, use European measurements. If you're a European brewery, use the proper European measurements. I always complain about that in these videos, but very much looking forward to this one. The breweries involved here, I've had good experiences with all 4 of them, so very curious to see what they can do when they jump in together. So as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer, and I'm certainly looking forward to it. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Stone, North, Magic Rock and from Buxton. No doubt I will have some more from all of those in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the German beers that I've reviewed for you and all the English ones. This beer of course will appear in both of those. It will probably appear in the American list as well, since Stone Brewing is an American company. There's all the usual social media, you know, all of these kind of things. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then. This will be a little bit of a longer kind of brewery history for this video. So first off, we'll start with Stone Brewing, since they are the home brewery in this case. So Stone Brewing were founded back in 1996 in San Marcos in California by Steve Wagner and Greg Koch, and this location is now home to Port Brewing Company and also the Lost Abbey Brewery as well. But in 2006 Stone moved to a new custom built facility in Escondido, which is also home to their restaurant, which is called Stone Brewing World and Gardens. They opened a second restaurant of the same name in the Point Loma district in San Diego, and they also own stores in Oceanside, Pasadena and also South Park and Little Italy in San Diego as well. In 2014 the brewery was brewing around 287,000 barrels of beer, which made them the 9th largest craft brewery in America. But the brewery announced expansion plans for the US and Germany in 2014, and they opened their Berlin facility in 2016, which is equipped with a 100 hectolitre brewery and can be found in Mariendorf in Berlin. And this brewery is responsible for all of Stone's European beer. All the Stone Brewing beers that we get are the ones that are brewed in Germany. I'm in Sweden of course, but all of the beers that the Stone beers that you'll find throughout Europe are brewed in Germany. But they opened a restaurant which was called the Library Bar in the summer of 2016 to complement this brewery, and that year they also opened up a brewery in Richmond, Virginia, which began operations in July. So they do have an East Coast operation as well, and they've also opened up a facility in Napa in California too. And today they employ over 1,000 people, and they're the 9th largest craft brewery in the US, and like I say, they do have a strong presence in Germany and Europe as well. So on to Buxton Brewery then. That's Stone Brewing. As always with each of these breweries, the brewery websites are in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on at the brewery. So on to Buxton Brewery then. So Buxton Brewery, as I've mentioned to you before, is based in Buxton, which is a spa town in Derbyshire in England. This brewery was founded by Jeff Quinn back in 2010, and it had a staff for a long time of only 5 people, but the local area is known as the Peak District, and it's famed for its water, which apparently has been revered since Roman times. And the Romans actually named this town Aqua Arnemitia if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which translates to the waters of the goddess of spring, and most of their beers are named after local geographical and geological features around the Buxton area. The tower that's depicted on many of their labels is actually called Solomon's Temple or Grunlow Tower, but this was a folly tower that was simply built for decoration. But the Buxton beers have won many accolades, and this brewery's been consistently ranked in the world's top 100 breweries according to Rate Beer, which is no mean feat actually, and at full capacity they can produce over 60,000 litres of beer per month, and their beers are now exported to somewhere around 30 different countries worldwide, if I'm remembering correctly. But if you are interested in English craft beer, Buxton Brewery are one that you definitely want to check out. They're one of the breweries that I've always thought I need to do some more dedicated reviews to. I've had a lot of collaboration beers involving Buxton, but I've not had that many beers that have been solely Buxton beers. But if you are interested in English beers, Buxton are very good. They do a lot of different styles. They're not one of these breweries that just focus on IPAs. They've got some very good imperial stouts. I've had a good Scotch ale from them actually. I still need to publish that review, but I've had some good Scotch ales, and I've also had some very good IPAs from them quite recently. So make sure, if you get the chance, that you check out some of these Buxton beers. Again, brewery websites in the description below. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram and things like that, and you can keep up to date with them. So the youngest of the breweries in this collaboration brew. So on to North Brewing then. So North Brewing are based in Leeds, and this company was founded by John Gignell and Christian Townsley, who owned the North Beer Bar, which they opened back in 1997, and today they operate around 6 venues around the city of Leeds. But apparently North Bar used to work quite closely with the likes of James Clay and Vertical Drinks, who are two of the big beer and drink distributors throughout the UK, but they worked together quite closely to promote craft beer in Yorkshire. And the brewery itself is located in the Taverners Walk Industrial Estate, and it has a 200-person tap room and a 15 BBL brew kit system. But the brewers at the brewery are Seb Brink, who used to work for Golden Owl, and also Darius Darwell, who worked for the Bristol Beer Factory, which again is a very good brewer. I've heard that some of the stuff that Darius produces is really kind of top notch. But North Brewing are one of these breweries that fairly recently have kind of shot to fame. These guys pretty much appeared and just got a very good reputation very, very quickly. So if you get the chance to try some of these North Brewing beers, I highly recommend that you do, and I believe that they are at the stage where they actually are starting to export a number of these different things. So make sure you have a taste of some of these different beers. So on to the final brewery then, Magic Rock Brewing. So as I've told you before, Magic Rock Brewing, I've had some great IPAs from these guys. Magic Rock are based in Huddersfield in Yorkshire, England. This brewery were established back in 2011 by brothers Richard and Johnny Burhouse. Johnny of course left the company fairly quickly, but they were soon joined by head brewer Stuart Ross, and the beer brewing began in mid-2011, and these beers proved so popular that the brewery won the accolade of Best New Brewery of 2012 from Rate Beer, which is no mean feat. It's a very American dominated site, so for an English brewery to win that award I think is pretty impressive. But the brewery was largely inspired by this kind of the boom in American craft beer brewing, and they've been expanding their capacity and staff steadily over the years, just due to ever increasing demand for their beers. As of 2015 they're based in the Willow Business Park in Birkby, and they now employ well over 30 different people, and this new site that they have has a brewing capacity of 10,000 hectolitres of beer per year and a fermentation capacity of 70,000 litres at any one time. And like I say, Magic Rock Brewing, they're well known for their Cannonball series, which is a really great series of IPAs. They've got three of them in there: a triple IPA, a double IPA, and also the New England IPA, which in terms of New England IPAs is quite a heavy one. And they've got the regular Cannonball as well, which is a fairly hefty IPA. Those are probably my favourite beers that I've tried from Magic Rock before, and they're probably one of the better known Yorkshire craft breweries actually. If you want to try some English craft beers, all three of the breweries involved in this beer actually are definitely worth checking out. And Stone Brewing of course are a very well known American craft beer brand. So for these 4 breweries to come together I think is pretty special. And the Indie Man Beer Con that you get in Manchester, the likes of Rob from Hop Scene, I think Harry at Blue Nose Beer Reviews, I don't know if Craig from Kent Beer Reviews and stuff has been there as well, but all of the English guys that I know, Peter and Dean and things like that as well, this is one of the festivals that they really rave about. So I really need to get to Indie Man Beer Con at some point soon, and this was the beer that these 4 came up with for that festival when they met. So I think that was pretty cool actually. But yeah, that's all you need to know about the 4 breweries here. All the websites are in the description below. If you want to learn a little little bit more about any of them, check out those websites. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on at all 4 of those breweries. But yeah, to tell you about this beer itself actually then, before we taste this one, the last part of my brewery notes. So like I mentioned to you, this one is a 7% IPA, and the recipe for this beer is based on the recipes of Buxton Brewery, which is an IPA that's been getting some really rave reviews recently, the Magic Rock Cannonball. I've never tried the original Cannonball, but I've tried the 3 big ones that they released, the Unhuman, I forget the names of them, but I've had the 3 big cans recently, the New England IPA, the Double IPA, and also the Triple IPA as well. That series is definitely worth checking out, but I've never tried the original Cannonball. The North beer that's involved in this one is the North Transmission, and also the regular Stone IPA. So out of all the IPAs that are kind of involved with this recipe, I've only ever tried the regular Stone IPA. But like I mentioned, this beer was brewed for Indie Man Beer Con 2018. So yeah, that's all you need to know about the beer. Let's get on to the tasting of this one itself then. Brewery notes can go away, we can turn the computer off for this one. But yeah, nicely presented. It says on the side here, this beer is what happens when brewers become friends and bring their beers together as one. Blending 4 distinct groundbreaking IPA recipes, the result is one incredible beer that's been made specifically to help celebrate the 2018 Indie Man Beer Con, as I mentioned, the Independent Manchester Beer Brewers Convention. The Fellowship IPA is and the Indie Man are both perfect examples of the old adage, beer brings people together. And it's, if you want to go to IMBC, it's at Victoria Baths in Manchester, and it was the 4th to the 7th of October 2018 this year. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. I like the label art. You know, these stone cans are very, very distinctive. They make these silver ones and then they just put the stickers over it. But I think, yeah, this should be very, very interesting. But yeah, nicely presented beer, as you always get from Stone, a 7% IPA. So let's get it out and get on with the tasting. I'm very, very curious to see how this guy turns out. This one, as I mentioned to you earlier, was released through Systembolaget on the, I want to say it was the 17th of November 2018. I might have the date slightly wrong with that, but this one was released in November, the second small partier in November 2018 from Systembolaget. But yeah, you can really smell some of these lovely fruity notes off this beer as you open up. But yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's poured a nice hazy, kind of rich golden colour in here. Almost has a little bit of a New Zealand hoppy smell coming off this one. It's got some really juicy fruits, but I think in fairness the colour of this one is more of a yellowy note rather than an orange note. There's 2.5 fingers of a frothy, I would say, slightly cream coloured head, this one. It's not quite a perfect white head. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, and a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall it looks pretty nice, but not unsurprising in terms of appearance for an IPA. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh, that smells really nice actually. So yeah, it almost, with this one, it's just, it smells ridiculously smooth. I mean, you can smell there's some nice bready malts in this one. To me, the aroma of this beer screams German malt. I would guess that, you know, Stone Brewing Berlin are brewing American style beers, but I would bet anything that they are using German malts, most likely the Weyermann malts from Bamberg, you know, a very famous malt company. Although there may well be some other malts involved in this one. But yeah, so with this one, nice bready malt based, sort of pale, you know, white bready malt based. There's maybe a little touch of wheaty note in this one, but not too much. A little bit of caramel in there, but also some nice kind of sweet biscuity notes. Pretty much everything you would kind of expect from an IPA. You know, there's a regular Stone IPA, is a West Coast IPA. The other ones, if I remember correctly, that are in this are more New England IPAs. So in a way, this will be interesting because it's got a little bit of West Coast IPA in it, but also some of the New England IPAs. And as I've mentioned many a time on these videos recently, I have been missing the big, bitter West Coast IPAs. You know, everyone's brewing the New England ones these days. It gets a little bit boring after a while. You do want a little bit of variety. But for me, this one, it smells very, very juicy. The level of juiciness that you're getting off of this one, the way the hops are coming out, it actually does remind me of some of the New Zealand IPAs that I've had in times gone by. I really miss the New Zealand beers actually. I need to get back out there and review some more of them. But yeah, lovely juicy fruity notes to this one. In terms of the grassy floral side of the hops, to me it's mainly a grassy note that's coming out of this one. But yeah, lovely juicy notes to this beer. To me, there's something in my head that's saying cherry. It almost has this little bit of a kind of medicinal kind of cherry type thing to it, which is really kind of is really unusual actually. I like how that kind of goes together in this one. The fruity notes in this are just very unusual. There's a little bit of mango in there. There's a little bit of like a gooseberry note as well. So definitely tropical fruits, a little bit of mango. There's almost a little bit of a kind of medicinal, syrupy kind of thing to this, which is really unusual. Yeah, but I would say mangoes, maybe a little bit of passion fruit and grapefruit in there as well. There's a little touch, I think, of a red fruity note, and as I say, something in my head is saying like cherries or something. But it really reminds me, there's this thing, I don't know if the Swedes have it, but there was this medicine that you always used to get given when you were young in Scotland if you had a cough or something. It's called Calpol, and it just, the fruity notes in this beer, if you take it in a bit more deeply, it's almost got a little bit of this kind of cherryish note to it. So it's really quite unusual that actually this beer. I'm just wondering if my nose is playing tricks on me. And when you sugar the beer up, there is definitely a red fruity component to this one, which is very unusual. But yeah, mangoes, a little bit of passion fruit. I think, I'm not sure about pineapple in this one. I think there's maybe a little tiny touch of an orangey note or something like that in there. But yeah, it's got this. It's confusing me, this, because I don't think I've ever come across an IPA that's quite smelled medicinal like that, which is, it's just really unusual. Let me just have a little whiff of this out the can, because I think the can, yeah, the can does smell a little bit different as well. So maybe when this beer opens up a little bit, it changes. But when you smell it out the can, yeah, there is a little touch like an orange in there. Like I say, passion fruits, a little bit of grapefruits and things like that in there. But you know, overall, it's a really interesting smelling beer, this one. I mean, there's not much more you can say about the aroma. There's nothing, the sort of almost cherryish medicinal quality that comes out in the glass, I think is very interesting. It's really unusual. But I guess let's just have a taste of this one then. So this one is the Fellowship IPA, a collaboration beer brewed by Stone Brewing Company with Magic Rock, Buxton and North Brewing Company, all from different places in England, and this was brewed for the Indieman Beer Con in Manchester in October of 2018. Let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. Yeah. So this beer, it's definitely got a bit of that German smoothness to it. It really does. Yeah. I like how this is going together. So straight away with this one, you get some nice sort of there's some nice sort of smooth bready quality that just blankets the middle of your palate there. You can feel that going straight away. There's definitely some of that smooth German malt character to this one. On top of that though, you feel a little bit of a slightly thicker kind of bready thing there. There's a little touch of caramel right in the centre of your palate, and as you move further out from that, the beer definitely has a little bit more of a kind of biscuity presence to it. There's a little bit of that kind of McVitie's digestive-y thing to this one, I think, but mainly the bready notes are really pushing their way out of this beer a little bit more. And this is interesting. It's one of these beers that I think there's a lot going on in this actually. I like how kind of everything is going to. I'll just be careful with this. We'll put the last little bit of the can in and see. That's a nice pour, that actually, I have to say. But yeah, this beer, it reminds me of some of the Himburg's the double IPA that I had from Himburg's Braukunstkeller. It really reminds me of that actually. This one. And it's interesting. It's like a German IPA. This. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, there's a little touch of earthiness there. As you come further forward from that, it smooths out a little bit. And then at the very front corners of the palate, you get a little bit of a sort of floral aromaticity to the beer. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, you get a little bit of sort of grassy, floral kind of type of thing. Mainly grassy, I would say, and then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get these the little oily bubble where those juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And for me, this one, that sort of medicinally quality that was picking up in the aroma, it comes out a little bit more the further into the aftertaste you go. The fruity side of this beer, there's definitely some grapefruits in there. There's a good chunk of grapefruit, and I think that'll be coming mainly from the Stone IPA, the sort of Stone IPA part of the recipe. I think it will be that. So definitely some nice sort of grapefruits basing on this one. The further into this flavour you go, I think... yeah, there's a little bit of, there's definitely the kind of, that sort of solid, slightly darker flavoured grapefruit base to this beer. There's a little bit of mango kind of coming out of it when you go into the aftertaste. You can definitely pick out a little bit of that. I want to say there's a little touch of passion fruit in there. I do want to say there's a little bit of that in here. Yeah, definitely a little bit of passion fruit in there. It's interesting, it starts with the darker grapefruits, it moves on a little bit to be a more sort of passion fruity, mango-y sort of thing. I don't think, there's definitely no orangey flavours or anything like that coming out of this one. But the way the tropical fruits are kind of mixing together in this one, it does give the impression of this sort of almost sort of medicinal cough syrupy quality to the beer. It's really strange how that goes together, but I tell you something, it does work actually. Just be prepared. It's almost, the way that the fruits go together in this one, it just has this almost, as I say, sort of medicinal cough syrupy quality, but it's also got almost like this little, it's almost a little bit like the same kind of vibe you'd get from menthol or something like that, but obviously it's not as kind of pungent a flavour. It's really strange to kind of describe this one. But yeah, around the very edge of the tongue, the further you go into the aftertaste with this beer, you do get a little touch of lychee, sort of gooseberry flavour, I think, out of this one. But as I say, the way the tropical fruits mix together, it's almost the pungency of the grapefruit and a little bit of the passion fruit and things mixing together in this one. That sort of pungency that this beer has when it goes together, it is giving the beer just this kind of medicinally, almost mentally type vibe. So it's a really interesting one. This is a very kind of quirky IPA. This, but then when you mix you know, four different blends, 4 different recipes together and try and pull something out of it, it is going to be a little bit interesting. When I go further with the malt base as well, I am thinking there is a little bit of that almost acidulated kind of thing from it, and Magic Rock, as I've mentioned before, they like to use acidulated malts in a number of their beers, and it gives the malt base just almost this little kick to it, and the more and more that I drink of this beer, the more that I'm starting to get that from it, which is very, very interesting as well. So I do wonder if there's a little bit of that in this beer. Maybe that's contributing to this almost slightly medicinal cough syrupy vibe that this beer has. So yeah, this, to me, this is a really interesting one. It's definitely something that tests my palate, and I know, you know, when you've done like nearly 1,500 beer reviews, you do want things like this that are going to make you think a little bit. So with this beer, just beware with it. Don't treat this as a sort of session drinking beer, if you like, although it's a festival beer, but you know, enjoy it on its own, appreciate it, because there are some unusual things going on in this one, and I like what they're doing with this. In terms of the IPA style, for me, it very much reminds me of some of these German brewed IPAs. It's got that typical German smoothness, the Brauhaus smoothness that I always talk about. It has that kind of vibe with the malt base in this one, but it's got some really interesting things going on the fruity side of things, and I think there's a little bit of that Magic Rock kind of touch to the malt base in this as well. So if you like the Magic Rock beers and you like something a bit more, and you like these German brewed IPAs, then I think this is one that you are going to enjoy. And I like that when you try IPAs from these different kind of traditional beer countries. Czech Republic, their IPAs always have this lovely bready malt base and then the American hops on top. The German ones have that brauhaus smoothness and then the American hops on top. They always manage to retain a little bit of their own character in there, which I think is very cool. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say yeah, mid-bodied, carbonation smooth on this one. It leans more towards the oily side of things, this beer. In terms of IBUs, somewhere between somewhere around 40, I think about 40 IBUs for this one. Probably with the IPA style, it's fair to say there is a little bit of West Coast in this, there is a little bit of New England, but at the same time it's got a little bit of that German IPA kind of vibe about it as well. Nice smooth malt base, a typical German malt base for this one. It gets a little bit sweeter the further you go into the beer for me. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness and also some nice fruity juiciness as well. But for me, a really interesting beer, this one that's tested my palate, and as a beer reviewer, you know, that's what you want. You do want to think about these beers a little bit and think what's going on. But a beer that's been produced by 4 very, very good breweries, you know, you are going to get a good product, and it's kind of fitting that for a beer festival as kind of prestigious, if you like, as IMBC, that you're going to get a beer like this which does make you think about it a little bit. So don't treat this as a session, have a taste of it on its own and just appreciate it, because I think it's something that's a little bit more kind of quirky compared to some of the IPAs. You know, it's good having an IPA that's just nice and drinkable and things like that, but this one just has a few quirks to it. When you've got all these 4 different breweries involved, that is exactly what you would expect. But let's leave it at that for now for this beer. This has been a really nice one to review just because it's a little bit different. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Magic Rock, from Stone Berlin, from North Brewing, and from Buxton as well. Let me know what your favourite beers are from all these breweries. Let me know your own thoughts on this one as well. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts, particularly on that kind of medicinal vibe that this beer has. But this has been a really interesting one to review. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys very soon. This was the Fellowship IPA, brewed by Stone Brewing Berlin, a collaboration with Buxton Brewery from Derbyshire in England, and Magic Rock and North Brewing, both from Yorkshire in England as well. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slàinte, skål, prost.